tonight we're being joined by three guests live here at the library. We've got Bruce Leake, who is the Chief Executive of Suffolk Libraries. We've got a late substitution. We weren't expecting Callum, but Lee, he's had to be somewhere else this evening. So Lee Smith has kindly stepped into Callum's shoes. And finally, we've got Ezra Hewing from Suffolk Mind as well, joining us tonight. Also, by a pre-recorded video, we're going to have Charlie Hodson, Norfolk chef and mental health advocate, as part of the show this evening as well. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Tonight we're talking all about mental health, and the people joining me here tonight are going to give us some really useful advice and tips on ways that we can help get through the difficult winter months ahead. So we know that there's lots of stresses and strains on people at the moment. There's a lot going on. It was Stress Awareness Day yesterday. And then the Bank of England met today. So it was probably, could have been done today rather than yesterday. But so we know that there's an awful lot going on in the world at the moment that is affecting people's mental health. So to talk a little bit to begin with, I'm going to start with you, if that's all right, Bruce, and talk a little bit about the part that libraries can play in making people feel better and connected and get through some of the challenges they might be facing this winter. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what Suffolk Libraries are up to?
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, as a very community-based organisation, we've got a number of plans to help support people through the winter, and a lot of people don't realise that we're a charity as well, actually, so, and that plays a big part in sort of the way that we develop our services. And as a charity, each site is sort of uniquely empowered to develop services that meet the needs of their community. So we'll be building on that work, but also next week, just before World Kindness Day, which is happening on the 13th of November, we're planning to launch our big winter campaign, which is called Be Kind in Kind. And it's really a call to action to get people to come forward to help us, to help their sort of colleagues in the community, but also to ask for corporate support. So some examples of some of the things we're doing around that campaign are we've very kindly had some produce donated by Paddy and Scott's, who are going to allow us to sort of provide hot drinks throughout the winter. We're setting up kindness racks in all of our libraries where you can come and grab a clean second-hand item of clothing if you haven't got something warm for the winter. And then we're also building on some of the things we've done for many years. We'll be setting up a new partnership with the Hygiene Bank, which is a national charity who provide free hygiene products for people. And you can come and grab those from your library. And then on top of that, we'll also be sort of continuing our free menstrual product service called Pride and Periods. And then outside of that, I could go on and on.
Well, I was going to say, and I suppose the thing, the place that people, well, certainly for me, and when I think of libraries, one of, apart from the obvious of the books and things, but it's also a place where you feel welcome, isn't it? And they always have been a place where people are welcomed, and you can come and spend all day at a library if you want to, can't you? And so I know that in the past you've done some stuff around that kind of warm hubs and a welcoming place to be, whatever the weather. You've got 45 sites, haven't you? You said earlier on. What are some of the services that people can access through those sites?
Okay, so yeah, on the sort of warm spaces thing, I mean, we've been advertising ourselves as those for a number of years, but that's become a much bigger thing in the media. So I guess our kindness campaign is sort of building on that, and highlighting the fact that we are there, and as you've said, you know, available at all times of the day, and mostly at weekends as well, depending on the site. For people. In terms of the other services that we provide, we do probably a lot of things that people don't expect. The library is much more of what the best way to describe it is where you go for an experience rather than just a transaction. I think a lot of people's view about the library is formed around books quite naturally and sort of coming in and getting a book. But now a lot more people digest that type of stuff through our website. For example, we've got literally millions of and audio books. You can also download free music. We've got 3 million tunes. Through our website. So
it's something for everyone. With there must be a genre for everyone in there with 3 million
even
songs.
Me. Even me. And also we do some film streaming as well, some mainly sort of art house stuff. But that's all free, available through our website, www.suffolklibraries.co.uk. And then additionally on site, we do so many things, but we do about 10,000, just over 10,000 activities and events every year across our 45 sites. And those are a huge spectrum of things, ranging from the early years groups that people are probably familiar with, like Tot Rock and Baby Bounce, right through to regular sort of networking sessions for older people that we host at all of our sites. And then a million things in between, sewing therapy, bike maintenance. We do something called Jumpstart, which we're just relaunching, which is about physical activity. So we provide yoga and Pilates sessions, as well as some sort of
and the thing to do is check in with your local, well, one of the 45 local sites in Suffolk, and check what's available there. And you also mentioned when we were talking earlier on, which I thought was a really wonderful thing, was about the volunteers that you've managed to recruit to help with some skills for people. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
So again, as part of the kindness campaign, we already have quite a big sort of volunteering offer. So we have about 1,200 active volunteers in any normal year. But we specifically went out and asked people to volunteer their time to help us as part of the Be Kind in Kind campaign. So we've recruited 150 additional volunteers to help support people in the community and pass on some of their knowledge and skills. So for example, we're going to be running sort of self-help sessions to help people mend sort of old clothes so they can make the best use of those, and also offering all sorts of other sort of practical ways that we can help people to save money through those volunteers.
And with those sorts of skills as well, it's not just about saving money, is it? It's actually about sort of being able to reuse things. So there's a really good sustainability story in there, as well as the kind of affordability type thing. So that's a really positive thing. So I know we're talking about Suffolk at the moment, and that's what you're an expert in. But libraries across the region are offering sort of similar kind of services. So I think the message probably is to people at home, if you're not in Suffolk, make sure that you go and visit your local library and see what's available in Essex and Norfolk if you're watching from one of those counties as well. That's really wonderful. There's a question we have here from one of the viewers at home. So are all libraries offering refreshments and activities?
Yeah, I mean, some of our libraries have cafes in them, so those libraries won't be off, but there's 3 or 4 that have cafes in them. But all the other,
one here's got a cafe, hasn't
so
it?
we don't want to obviously take business away from people who are either leasing our space or are part of the sort of fabric of the site. But yes, all the other sites will be offering free tea and coffee, courtesy of Paddy and Scott's, throughout the winter months. And then activities available for free at all of our sites. Again, go to the website if you're on the internet, www.suffolklibraries.co.uk, and you can go to the events page there. And there are literally hundreds of things on there that you can do during the week and the weekends that will suit all tastes.
That's wonderful. So I think that's a really fantastic thing to hear, and I think for people who might be feeling a little bit lonely, a bit isolated, the library is a really, really wonderful place for you to be able to get out and meet some people and do some things and do some fun stuff, I think, most importantly. And all you need is a library card.
We don't even need we'd love you to get a library card. We don't need a library card to participate in the activities either. You know, we're a completely universal service, welcoming to everyone, so you can just turn up. You don't need a library card.
Wonderful. And probably volunteer as well. Are you always looking for volunteers?
We're always, we do, I could spend a long time telling you about all the volunteering we do, but we have a home library service where we go into the homes of people who are generally isolated or housebound. Then people do all sorts of different things in our libraries, either run some of the activities or help support some of the staff. And then we also have a number of volunteers who help with other types of outreach. So we have storytelling volunteers, for example, who go to places like snake maltings or other sort of public sort of places that have high footfall and do storytelling during the summer months. So all sorts of different things.
Amazing. I mean, wonderful. Libraries are really important places, and places I love to spend time as well. Thank you so much, Bruce. There's more information available both on the Suffolk Libraries website, but you can also go to the East of England Co-op website, and we'll have links and redirects to the library services in our region and other useful links and tips. So we'll make sure there's links available on the various channels that we are broadcasting on tonight. I'm going to move on a little bit now to movement and exercise, and I'm going to be talking to our late substitution, Lee. So Lee, you're from Ipswich Town, aren't you? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your role at Ipswich Town?
Yeah, so I kind of wear 2 hats, I suppose. I help the foundation deliver various different sessions. I have a main role at the club, disability liaison, which is aimed around the ticketing department. But yeah, helping with delivering sessions for the foundation, walking football, disability football, and just promoting what they do.
Cool. And so tell us a little bit about because we were chatting before we went to air, and I loved you talking about the walking football and what people aren't allowed to do.
Yeah, well, so we've relaunched that recently. That's become a very popular session. Really good numbers that turn out every week. It's a Monday night under the floodlights, so attractive for that reason at Portman Road.
Yeah. And who sort of comes? Who are your sort of?
So it's aimed at our senior player, if you like, but it's kind of quite open to those that maybe could have played football at a fast pace previously, but a bit like me, not so much anymore. So yeah, the walking football is quite attractive. You can still have a really good game. It still can be quite skillful and competitive. But yeah, I think we were laughing about the temptation not to run.
Yeah.
Obviously, the main rule is walking football. So yeah, it's difficult not to want to run if a ball's there for maybe to reach out for and. Yeah, sort of travel a little bit.
See all the elbows moving.
Yeah, it's quite an odd, fast walk with lots of steps, and yeah, it looks like you're rushing off somewhere else.
Yeah, late for an important date.
Yeah, but it's a really good session, really well received, and I think a real positive of that session is that people meet, people talk. Obviously, people are getting involved with the activity itself, but off the back of when we launched it a couple of summers ago, it built friendships that those people then met at the football, met after the session. So it got people talking, meeting up, and making new friends, which a real good thing to see.
And you were talking, so at the moment you don't have a league at the moment, do you, for the walking football group? But you were saying with some of the other adults that you work with, there are some leagues that you're.
Yeah. So something else that I'm heavily involved with is coaching disability football. Again, very good for those participants to be active, different struggles maybe with their mental health and their understanding of the world at the moment. But yeah, they play in a competitive league in Suffolk. Ipswich Town is represented as well, and they were very close in winning a league last season.
Amazing.
So we've started off very well this year with a new kit, and yeah, it's a tournament-based league that comes round sort of maybe every 6 weeks, and there's sort of 5 to 7 fixtures for each team in those tournament days. But they're great days. They are looked forward to by all of them, and yeah, they're great days to be part of.
Yeah, I bet. And at the moment, again, you're in a Suffolk league at the moment.
Yeah.
There are other leagues sort of available.
Yeah, I'm aware of it being quite a national thing now, disability football. I think the league, the main name for it is Ability Counts or Abilities Count. We've got one in Suffolk that's very strong and doing very well. And I think, the ones nearby. I think we've attracted teams up from Essex, down from Norfolk. Not a big problem. It's bolstered our league. It's very competitive. But yeah, the offering is more wider.
That's fantastic. It's really good to see people, hear people moving. So the other thing that you're doing at the club, isn't it? We were talking about the programme that you're running at the moment in partnership with Norfolk and Suffolk NHS, aimed at younger people and sort of.
Yeah, it's aimed at school years 8 and 9. It's an 8-week programme that's delivered. It's for those that might be in decline with their well-being, their mental health and well-being. So it's an opportunity to join these sessions. It's part classroom-based and then obviously outside. So yeah, tips on improving your mental health, looking after yourself even at that young age, eating well, obeying sleep sort of routines, keeping them in good check, and being mindful of your social media usage, phone usage. But you can also, part of that session is that you're going to be outside, you're going to be doing multi-sports, team building exercises, again making friends and having a bit more of a happier outcome and outlook on life. At that young age.
And we were also talking about, there was a couple of initiatives that we were talking about a little earlier on where, and what struck me as well was how, in particular, I know that you have a multitude of fans, but a lot of the programmes are very much sort of targeting men, and we've all seen in the news that men in particular are at higher risk of sort of death by suicide and that sort of thing. And so a lot of the the things you're doing are about targeting those groups, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because with Orwell Housing in particular.
Yeah, so that's to highlight the sad statistic really of suicide in those that work in construction.
Yeah.
So again, there's a programme there that's delivered to help raise awareness, spot the signs, and help the construction industry support their staff, their male staff, but equally it's female also. But yeah, it's a sad looking statistic that, you know, male suicide is very high. So yeah, that's another programme that I think is going really well for the foundation. Got a good partnership there, and they're delivering some really good stuff.
And you also, there's a talk club as well, isn't there? Which was that aimed at sort of younger people or older people? Is it?
It starts at 18 plus. So yeah, it could be the younger male, but it's got quite a nice, simple ring to its delivery. You know, the participants can turn up, sit and get involved in conversations, or just sit and listen. But the chap that delivers the session itself really just keep it simple, inclusive, welcoming, and basically just ask how you're doing, and then builds on the conversation from there. Sometimes that's all it takes, a simple question like that, and people might open up. But again, like everything that we've covered at the moment, is an opportunity to maybe build friendships, extend your social life, and, you know,
and talk about something else,
and talk about something else. Maybe not throwing a 4-2 lead away on Saturday, but yeah, just an opportunity to talk. And I think I'm doing a good job at the moment, but some men struggle talking and opening up a little bit. So it's creating an environment comfortable for them to just be confident enough to talk. And
I think in a safe space as well, isn't it?
Very much so. Again, at Portman Road, so, you know, an opportunity to go to the ground. I think the space there there's no charge, so you know, a very inclusive and you know, easy to get to venue, and very good stuff.
Yeah, we've actually got some questions up here. So we've got a question from Neil. Is walking football for all ages? He might want to sign up. You never know.
It is, we have kept it open. I think, I mean, I'm not sure I'm the youngest participant because I'm the coach, but it's aimed at senior. But yeah, I think those that maybe want to just either give it a go or can't play in a fast-paced game anymore, or their mobility doesn't allow them to run. I think, we're very open to that. So a case of just contacting the foundation and booking onto the session.
And we'll make sure we've got some links on the site. We've also got a question here about, we talked a little bit about the talk club and things, but how is Ipswich Town Football Club supporting their supporters with mental health?
So we've actually got a support services manager in now that's very approachable, and is bringing sort of more and more sort of opportunities for all supporters to contact the club and ask the questions, and he's going to help deliver particular sort of either activities or just being approachable, being there to speak to whatever the struggle is for a particular supporter with mental health issues. He's going to look to kind of pick that up and do what we can as a club. But it's something that I think we need to really strengthen on, because it's becoming more of a sort of a frequently asked question.
And I suppose you've got that community, haven't you? You've got that shared, that shared love of Ipswich Town, haven't you?
Yeah, so it's obviously a belonging to the club. So we have to be very open and inclusive to all our supporters, no matter what they might be going through. We need to be approachable and supportive as much as possible.
And then one sort of final question before we move on is, Lee, do you run courses across Suffolk, or is it just Ipswich?
No, it's throughout the wider community across the county, maybe even breaching into other counties. But the foundation are growing all the time. So encroaching maybe into Norfolk a little bit. But they are very keen on delivering things, further and wider. Obviously in Suffolk, but further afield as well. So, again, that information can be found on our foundation site, or an email into one of the staff there, and they can signpost them to things further afield.
That's really wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lee. That was really, really helpful. And again, we'll make sure that links and more information is available on the website after the show tonight. We're now going to have a short film where we're going to get Charlie Hodson, who earlier on this week did a short recording on how to make a really, really hearty, warming macaroni cheese and a warm salad, I think it is. It looks really tasty, whatever it is. And it's all about creating something affordable to make, hearty, and a great way of spending time together. So let's have a look at Charlie making macaroni cheese.
Hi, I'm Charlie Hodson, Norfolk chef and mental health ambassador. Today we'll be cooking macs and cheese, but with a twist. What we have here is cooked spirelli pasta, enough for 4 people, the whole dish. And we just call it with a twist because obviously macaroni's straight, spirelli's twisted. So we're going to put that to the side. That's been cooked for about 11 minutes in salted water with a touch of Yare Valley rapeseed oil. So we'll pop that over there for now. So now we're going to make our cheese sauce using a roux. A roux is basically just flour and fat combined. So what we're going to do first is melt our butter. So we're just going to simmer this, melt this down. What we want to do is just get the butter just to bubble. So we don't want it to go dark. We just want to keep it nice and light. So you end up getting more of a bit of a foam consistency. And once it starts to foam and all the butter's melted, we'll add a twist of Maldon sea salt. And then we'll add our flour. And then very slowly, we'll just add our milk. What we want to get this to a really nice smooth consistency. So it forms a nice sauce that we can then add our cheese and our parmesan to. And all the recipes you'll see today, you'll be able to find on East of England Co-op website. So the bechamel has now been simmering away on a very low heat, stirring constantly to make sure we don't have any lumps, so it's beautiful and smooth. So now we're going to take that off the heat and add our grated cheese. We're just going to very gently bind it in so all the cheese melts. And there's enough heat in the pan without turning the pan back on just to melt the cheese so it's nice and beautiful and smooth. So we've now got a beautiful cheese sauce, and now we're ready for our next part. So the next stage, we have our pasta cooked, our cheese sauce ready. Now what we're going to do is fry off some lardons of bacon. Lardon simply means a piece of bacon that's been cut approximately about 1 centimetre wide. We're going to pop that in there. You might notice I'm not putting any oil or butter in, and that's because you've got a nice bit of fat content already with the bacon, so we're not trying to add anything to it because it takes away from the beautiful flavour that we've already got. So we're literally going to quickly cook that on a really high heat, and you'll see when the bacon's cooked that it's just cooked perfectly all right and beautifully in its own fat. So now we've got our lardons of bacon. They've been cooked, so they're just going a lovely colour of brown. We don't want to cook them too much more than that because they're going to be baked when we put it to the macs and cheese. So what we're going to do now, we're going to turn those off the heat, and now we're going to put the whole dish together. So in a big bowl, in our metal bowl, we're going to pour our pasta. We're going to add our cheese sauce. And we're going to just mix that together. So what we want to do is make sure that all the pasta's coated. And then to that, we're just going to add our bacon lardons. And we're going to mix all that in together, all coated, and the bacon's mixed between all of the pasta and the cheese. Pop that on the side for a second. And we'll get our dish. This recipe easily feeds a family of 4. Then to add to the top, we're just going to sprinkle all the Parmesan on. See, when we go back to the fact of families doing things together, there's so many things, apart from where it's really hot, binding the pasta and the cheese sauce. That's where children can take part with their families, their parents. And that's going to go in the oven on 180 degrees for approximately 15 minutes. So that's on its way, cooking nicely. But what's always nice is to have a salad. But with winter coming, you don't really want a cold salad. So this is a little bit of another twist on a Tuscan style salad. So we've got a really hot pan with a little bit of Yare Valley rapeseed oil in. To that, we're going to add 1 large red onion. We're just going to coat all the onion in the oil. And you'll see that it's already starting to brown because of the heat in the pan, and the onion's starting to naturally caramelise. We're going to add a bit of Maldon black pepper, a little bit of Maldon sea salt. Then into the onions, we're going to add some lovely cherry tomatoes. It's literally just been cut in half. What we don't want to do is cook it all the way through, so we're literally just getting a little bit of heat into it. A little bit of parsley, it's been chopped. And then this is a really good thing you can do with your children, and children love ripping things apart. A little bit of basil, you're just tearing your fingers. You don't chop it. Nice and rustic. The onions are beautifully just started to caramelise. Tomatoes are nicely warm. You've got in there a little bit of Maldon sea salt, the pepper and the basil and the parsley. So now we're just going to take that off the heat and leave that to stand. So now we've got our beautiful warm cherry tomato, red onion, basil, a little bit of parsley, beautifully and warm in a pan. What we're going to do is just transfer that into a little bowl. And then we're all guilty of this at home. We tend to use our herbs, put the rest back in the fridge, forget about them, end up going in the bin. What I tend to do every week, collect all my herbs up and just blitz them with a little bit of rapeseed oil from Yare Valley, a little bit of salt and a little bit of lemon juice, which gives it that lovely deep green colour. From the oven, we're just going to remove our beautiful Max and cheese with a twist, using spirelli pasta with beautiful lardons of bacon, beautiful cheese sauce, finished with a little bit of Parmesan, so it's lovely and golden brown. So that's taken 15 to 20 minutes in the oven to cook through on 180 degrees. So there you have it, our Max and cheese with a twist, beautiful warm winter salad, just perfect for family to cook together, eat together, talk together, and what could be better for our mental health.
Thanks ever so much, Charlie. That was really, really wonderful to watch. We were all just discussing how hungry we all are as we were watching that mac and cheese come out of the oven. And I think the points that Charlie was making on the film there around how food is a really good way of bringing, again, it's bringing people together, connecting, having those opportunities to talk. And the food that Charlie was cooking there is really, really affordable and hearty. If you check the website, as Charlie suggested, all the recipes are available on there. We even have vegan and vegetarian options available for those people who need them or want to try them. So now we're going to move on to our fourth and final sort of segment of the evening, where we're going to talk about sleep. So we've got Ezra Hewing here from Suffolk Mind. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank you. Right, so we're going to talk to you a little bit about, well, you're going to talk to us, more importantly,
Sure.
about sleep. So why is a good night's sleep so important?
Well, broadly speaking, there are two different kinds of sleep. One is deep sleep, and that's essential for repairing cells in the body and the brain. So if we don't get enough of that, then we can experience fatigue, tiredness, inflammation, and so on. The other kind of sleep is REM sleep, which is when most of our dreaming takes place. And that's essential for clearing away stresses, emotions, concerns from the day that we've not resolved, and enabling us to wake up the next day feeling refreshed, able to focus, motivated to get on with our day. And if we're not getting enough sleep, then we might not be getting enough deep sleep or enough REM sleep as well. And if that happens, then our worries and concerns from the previous day can carry over to the next day. On the other hand, if we're very worried about unmet needs in our lives, if we're very stressed, that can increase the amount of dreaming that we do. And when that happens, if we're dreaming too much, it can tire the brain out, and then we can wake up feeling exhausted, low in mood, lacking in motivation the next day. In other words, with the symptoms of depression. So we need the right amount of REM sleep, and we need deep sleep too, and that's why a good night's sleep is so important for our mental health.
That's so interesting that there are those sort of two parts, sort of almost healing different parts of your kind of body and mind,
Absolutely.
aren't they? It's
Absolutely that.
really, really important. So I suppose you were talking there a little bit about people who might be struggling to sleep and the impact of that. Have you got any tips for how you can try and sort of get a good night's sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. So a really key thing is, as much as possible, to have a regular going to bed and a regular getting up time, because sleep likes a routine, it likes consistency. Now, if people are working shifts or they have young families, that can be a challenge. But as much as you can, working together wherever you live with your family or whatever the setup is, to make sure that you've got a good chance of going to bed and getting up at the right time. That's a really important thing to do. Now, on top of that, we need to have a good routine that helps us to get ready to go off to sleep as well. The 2 hours before we're aiming to go off to sleep are critically important. So things that we can do there are, for example, having a warm bath or a warm shower a couple of hours before we go to bed. And the reason that's important is because when we get out of the shower or out of the bath and our body begins to cool down, as heat leaves the body, that triggers the hormones that make us feel sleepy. And feeling sleepy is great because it will help you to go off to sleep more easily. The other thing that we can do is try to make sure that we don't have any screens or other distractions that might over-excite the brain before we want to go off to sleep, and learning relaxation exercises that can help us calm down, dimming lights, doing something that you find kind of helps you to kind of, maybe snuggle up, or if you've got a favourite blanket or something that you like to read that, allows your mind to wander for a while before you get into bed and go off to sleep.
Okay. And what happens, so that's if you're there's some good habits for falling to sleep. How about if you're sort of struggling to sort of stay asleep? How you maybe tackle that? Okay,
so some really good strategies to have if you're waking up in the middle of the night and finding it difficult to go off to sleep again, is if you find that it's taking you longer than 20 minutes to get off to sleep again, get up.
Okay.
And go and do something really boring.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that we don't want the brain to associate being in bed with laying awake worrying. You want to kind of break that association, that connection, and then go and do something boring, because the brain would rather be asleep than bored. And by boring, I mean like cleaning the oven with an old toothbrush or something that you really hate.
Yeah.
That will help you you'll just get really bored of, and your brain will be like, to hell with this, I just want to go to sleep. Yeah,
get me away from this.
Sure.
I suppose unless you really love cleaning, then you have to find something that's not that stimulating.
Exactly,
then, isn't it?
that's exactly the trick, Nikki. You've got to. It can't be something that you like doing. It's got to be something that you hate.
So all the jobs you've been putting off, they're the ones
don't
to
do that.
focus
You get
on.
too much meaning and purpose.
Well, that's really, really helpful. And so that's the getting into good habits, having a warm bath or warm shower. I didn't realise you needed to have sort of that much of a gap. I always sort of think just before you go to bed would be good, but
you can do, but it's because of the changes and some of this is fairly recent research, but it's to do with the way that heat leaves the body, and that's also the reason why we need a bedroom where the temperature is around about 18, 19 degrees.
Okay.
It's got to be cooler than our body heat, otherwise heat can't leave the body.
Okay.
And that's especially important for, women who are affected by menopause, for example, and those sorts of changes, which, you know, it's great to see that there's more awareness around that in workplaces too, and the connection between that and mental health. But something that is really important is to make sure that the bedroom is cooler, so that heat can leave the body and help people to go off to sleep more easily.
I suppose that's useful at the moment, isn't it, with the cost of having to heat houses?
There's a silver lining there.
The silver lining for a very large grey cloud, I think.
Yes,
So,
I think so.
So obviously, you're part of the Suffolk Mind team.
Yes.
If people are in sort of need of support, how do they access some of the services that Suffolk Mind offer? Do they need to go to their GP? Are they able to contact you directly?
No, but by all means go to your GP, but you can refer yourself directly to Suffolk Mind. All you need to do is you can do that via our website, and you can find out more about resources around sleep on our website too. But you can just call 0300 111 6000 and you'll be answered by one of our friendly staff during office hours, or leave a message and they'll get back to you. And they'll be able to describe a wide range of services that we run. We also do things in partnership with the libraries as well, of course, but we run counselling services, courses and workshops, services for people affected by specific mental health issues like borderline personality disorder and so on. And you'll find a rich range of resources to better help people meet their needs and enable them to get better sleep, or to cope with the symptoms of mental health and stay at the well-being end of the continuum as much as they can. Yeah.
Okay, that's really wonderful. So I think, and so obviously you're Suffolk based. Does Norfolk and Essex Mind offer sort of similar? It would be a different telephone number, of course.
It would be a different telephone number, but that's absolutely right. So Norfolk and Waveney Minds cover that particular part of the region. Then Cambridgeshire, Peterborough and South Lincolnshire Mind as well. And there's also North East Essex Mind and West Essex Mind too. So whether you search for them online or you type in Mind directly, and it will be able to direct you to your nearest local Mind association to give you the support that you or the people that you care for need as soon as possible.
Okay, that's wonderful. We've got a question coming in from some of the people watching tonight. So have you got any advice on how to reduce stress?
Yes. Okay, so the most important thing to know about stress is that it is not random. Stress is nature's way of telling us that one or more of our emotional needs are not being met. So that could be the need for security. So if you're worrying about your finances, your need for security might not be particularly well met. If you are struggling to meet the needs, we all have a need to feel that we have some control or say over our lives, then that can be a cause of stress. So giving attention to things that we can control and taking attention away from things that we can't control is a useful way to reduce stress. Or if we're socially isolated and we're not terribly well connected to the community, then we need to maybe get some support with better connecting up to meet those needs. So that's the most important thing to say about stress. If in the meantime that seems like it's going to take a little bit of time to address unmet needs, then learning things like 7-11 breathing, which is a really useful breathing and really simple breathing exercise. You don't need to be a yoga master or anything like that. All you need to do is to learn how to breathe in for a count of 7 and then slowly out for a count of 11, or whatever is comfortable to you, and do that for about 10 minutes a day to lower your stress levels. Also, if you're doing that when you get into bed at night or before you go to bed, that can help to calm you down so that you can get a better night's sleep too.
And I suppose that's about making sure you've got sort of the right kind of blood chemistry there, isn't it, with the sort of oxygen and carbon dioxide?
When we're stressed, our breathing tends to become shallow. But it's the out breath which triggers the relaxation response and the digest response too as well, which is why it's a great thing to do before you eat, so that you're not stressed when you eat.
Well, after mac and cheese.
After macaroni and cheese, exactly that.
So we've got a couple of other questions here on the screen. So is it possible for deaf people to contact Mind as they cannot use the phone?
Yeah, do visit our website and you'll find ways of self-referring there without the need to use the phone.
Okay, wonderful. And then another question here, how can you help with anxiety?
So it depends on what form the anxiety takes. Anxiety can arise if we're persistently stressed. So when I spoke about unmet needs and stress being nature's warning sign, if our needs are met over an extended period of time, then stress can kind of keep us on red alert, so to speak, and in a state of anxiety. But it can also be true that if we've had experiences where we felt completely unsafe or at threat, maybe we've been in a road traffic accident or whatever it is, then that can give rise to anxiety as well that persists over time. And I'd recommend really getting some assistance with that from a counsellor or a therapist that has the right skills to be able to treat anxiety and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and that kind of a thing too.
Okay, I'm just spotting a few questions are coming in now, so forgive me for sort of cutting you off there. We've got, if we cover off the shifts one there, so can working, you did mention this a little bit before, didn't you, but can working shifts affect sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that working shifts makes it obviously really difficult to have regular going to bed and getting up times as well.
Yeah.
The best advice for dealing with that comes from studies of people working in accident and emergency, where they're working long hours and their shift patterns vary quite a lot.
And in really high pressure situations.
And it's a really high pressure situation too. And the advice there is not to try and chase 7 or 8 hours in one go. What you want to do is to look ahead to your week or the couple of weeks ahead and see where you've got like 2 hours and book those 2 hours, make sure you've got no other distractions, your phone's off and what have you, and just aim to get like 90 minutes, because sleep works in 90-minute cycles. So if you can make up for sleep deficits elsewhere with 90-minute cycles, that can really help too. The other thing that I should emphasize as well is that with all of the advice out there on sleep and everybody's natural concerns about it, we need to not beat ourselves up too much. We need to adopt quite a chilled out attitude where we're like, maybe I'll go off to sleep straight away. Maybe it will take me a little bit of time. Either way, I'm just going to relax and see what happens, because nothing gets in the way of a good night's sleep, like worrying about things too much.
Needing sleep.
Needing, exactly that. Yeah.
Okay, we've got another question here. It says, I suffer from anxiety and I'm finding it hard to control at times. Do Suffolk Mind offer any support with things like that?
Yes, absolutely. If you contact Suffolk Mind and ask about our counselling service, then they'll be able to put you in touch with people who've got the skills to be able to deal with any unpleasant past experiences that may be giving rise to anxiety in the present, and also teach people the skills to reduce their anxiety too. And in fact, in the next year, there'll be more news to come about a course for members of the public and people in workplaces too, where they can learn the skills to manage anxiety more effectively. So keep visiting our website and follow us for updates on that.
And at the East of England Co-op, we're working in partnership with Suffolk Mind at the moment, and we've done some courses recently, haven't we? And one of which I attended, and it was really, really useful, and enjoyed it a lot. So it's worth keeping an eye out on the Suffolk Mind website. So there's one other question here that is, how can I cope with severe depression when I've run out of sick days and I'm totally demotivated? That's tough, isn't it?
It's an extremely tough situation. And if you've run out of sick days and you're concerned about returning to work, then that can be a huge source of worry. Again, please call 0300 111 6000 and speak to somebody that can talk about sources of support to support both recovery from depression, but also our Suffolk Work Well service that works with people with workplace concerns about how their mental health may affect their ability to work or to return to work.
That's really helpful. And again, we'll make sure that the telephone number, I know we've had it up on screen a couple of times, but we'll make sure the telephone number and the web addresses and everything are available on the website at the moment. That was really helpful. Thank you, Ezra. I hope everyone at home found some of the advice that Ezra was giving us useful. I'm certainly going to have, it gives me an excuse to have more baths, is what my takeaway from that, amongst other things. So thank you very much. And thank you to my other guests this evening, Bruce from Suffolk Libraries, Lee from Ipswich Town, Ezra from Suffolk Mind, and Charlie, who was with us earlier on with the mac and cheese. That's all we've got time for this evening. Thank you, everyone who's joined us. As I've mentioned several times this evening, all of the information, you'll be able to watch the show back if you want to very shortly on both Facebook and our YouTube channel. So please like, follow and subscribe. My teenage son will like that. But if you like, follow and subscribe, you can make sure you can access all this material later. We will make sure links to some of the organisations and the projects that we've mentioned here this evening are also available to everyone tonight as well. Thank you very much to Suffolk Libraries for letting us be here tonight in Ipswich County Library. Thank you very much to the team. I don't think I thank the team very often when we do these things, so thank you very much to the team for making the event work so well. Our next Your Co-op Live will be later on this year, and it will be with our colleagues from the funeral team and one of our memorial events. So please look out for that event coming up. It's a really, really wonderful event where we're able to take a moment to reflect on lost loved ones. With that, thank you very much for your attention this evening, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks very much. Good night.